In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Pivotal Weather. I really like this website, especially for my own personal use and my professional use. This website is very clean. It's laid out quite well. You're going to find that it's very handy to access the weather models that I have been teaching or showing you over the last couple of weeks. And the best part of all of this is that this website is absolutely free. So the first step would be to go to pivotalweather.com. And when you go to pivotalweather.com, the home page shows up like this. Now they have a couple products here on the left-hand side that you can look at. And right here they have the National Weather Service current hazard outlook. And this basically just shows you what the different hazards are. And they have a key at the bottom that basically describes what different parts of the country are going through. So if you're looking for a location to forecast and you might want to look for some interesting weather, meaning you're not trying to find a location that is just going to be pure sunshine all the time, and you're trying to actually test your forecasting skills a little bit more, you can use the actual hazard outlook from the National Weather Service. And a couple other products that you may or may not be interested in. Right under here, this NDFD, this would be the high and low temperatures for the day. Now, would be the National Weather Service's prediction or their predicted temperatures. It's the same thing for how much liquid equivalent they're expecting. For snow, they also have max wind gusts. So this would be more of the National Weather Service's forecast, just displayed over the whole continental United States. WPC, that stands for the Weather Prediction Center. It's just a branch of the National Weather Service or a branch of NOAA. And here it just shows outlooks for different amounts of rain or liquid equivalent that has fallen over 24, 48, 72, all the way up to 168 hours. And also at the bottom here, they also have the probability of precipitation exceeding a 1/100th of an inch, a 1/4 of an inch, 1 inch, so on and so forth, and also the same thing for snow. But as we get into the warmer months, we don't necessarily have to worry about snow. Another really cool tool, and the last one that I'm going to actually show you would be from the CPC, which stands for the Climate Prediction Center. It's also a branch out of NOAA, and this also shows the 6 to 10 day temperatures, 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook, and they also have one for the 8 to 14 temperature outlook, and the same thing for precipitation. So that's a little bit about the home page and how you can use some of the cool features on the left-hand side. Now what I want to do is we're going to click on models, because this is how you're going to access the weather models, and it defaults to this page where you can see that the model type defaults to the GFS and the zoom defaults to the continental United States. So over here on the left hand side where it says run, here's when you can access different timestamps or different model runs throughout the day or the previous days. So if you want to look for model trends, you can do that. You can easily just click on any different model run and it'll bring you to that previous model run. So this would be the model run of the GFS from Monday, April 1st at 2 p.m. So this is 18Z, that is 2 p.m. But if you want the latest one would update here. And it's currently 10 o'clock in the morning, so the 12Z model run is still running, so it's not available for view yet, and so that's why we're only left with the 2 a.m. run or the 6Z run. So here you can click on all the individual timestamps, right? And if you click on all the individual timestamps, whichever one you click on, it basically will project what this model thinks the atmosphere will look like at that certain time. But that's a little bit more annoying. So what I would recommend is under animation, click on single image, and you can click on forecast loop. And so when you do that, basically you can just roll your mouse over the different timestamps and you can watch the animation, or you can click on the side here, or you can use the greater than or less than arrows on your keyboard. I find that to be the easiest. So there's different ways that you can actually look through all these timestamps. Now, the default comes for this precipitation type and rate. And here you can see the blue would indicate snow, the greens would indicate rain, and nothing would indicate dry weather. So here we can change the model run. For right now, I'm just going to leave it at the GFS. So here it says precipitation type and rate in inches per hour, and it talks about this 1,000 to 500 millibar thickness, which I'll discuss in another video. But here you can see the actual runtime. So this is the 6Z GFS. So this is valid. This timestamp is valid for Wednesday, April 3rd at 12Z. So this is what the atmosphere is portrayed to be by the GFS for 12Z. And so I can move this through time, and I can see what the atmosphere would look like. Here would be Thursday, April 4th at 18Z. So this would be 2 p.m. So here you can see locations where it's raining, locations where it's dry, so on and so forth. So that's how you look at the United States in a continental view or an overview. But there's different ways that you can look at this. So if you want to zoom in or zoom out, you can. If you're interested in a whole continental look, you can go to the Continental tab and click on North America, and you can get an entire view of Canada, the United States, and even all the way down into Central America, a very wide view of the Pacific, and a very wide view of the Atlantic and the North Atlantic. But oftentimes we're going to be focusing on single locations. So let's say I was going to make a forecast for Washington, D.C., and I wanted to actually zoom in on a location that was closer to Washington, D.C. So I would go to the regional tab here, click on Mid-Atlantic, and here you can see it's much more defined. Now back here on the left-hand side, I'm going to show you these different tabs later, but for right now, what you would probably be more concerned with would be 2 meter AGL means above ground level, so 2 meter temperature. So if you click on that, you can look at the temperature. So if I was, again, to make a forecast for the DC area or anywhere near DC, so Virginia, West Virginia, anywhere in New Jersey, it doesn't necessarily matter. What you can do here is you can just move your mouse over, or you can actually use the keys or the arrows, and you can actually see how temperature varies. And if you wanted a specific location, all you have to do is just roll your mouse over, and you can see how temperature is actually highlighted in the cursor, and you can get a little bit more fine-tuned with your temperature via your location or whatever location that you want. So this is an added feature that they actually have added, so you can use that as well. You can also look at temperature and wind barbs, so you can look at temperature and wind. You can look at mean sea level pressure, so you can look at the actual sea level pressure. You can look at the winds, the surface winds, 10 meters above ground level winds, and it works the same way as temperature here. Here's a coastal storm, so if you wanted to actually move your mouse over the highest winds, you can see the highest winds here would be 50 knots, which is about 52 miles per hour. But here, very light winds, Pennsylvania, there's really no wind going on. But again, you can just move your cursor right to the timestamp that you want. So let's say I wanted to know what the wind was going to be for any location for Wednesday afternoon. So this would be 2 p.m. I can just roll my mouse over here, and I can see what my different wind speeds are throughout different parts of the Mid-Atlantic. So there's different ways that you can figure out wind speed. This is just another way to do it. Another cool thing that you can look at would be quantitative precipitation, or how much liquid equivalent has actually fallen. There's different ways to do that. You can look at accumulated QPF over every 3 hours. So here I'm just going to actually change this from the Mid-Atlantic. I'm actually going to change this to the Northeast, just because we have gotten rain over the last, really since this morning. So here, this will show accumulated precipitation for every 3 hours. You can change that to show every 6 hours or 12 hours, or you can do accumulated precipitation for the entire forecast period. And basically what it will do is it will just sum up everything here. So you can just move your mouse over and you can see how much rain the GFS is predicting, let's say the Northeast is going to get in 2 weeks. Now, of course, this could be fantasy land, and oftentimes it is, but that's just how you use the different types or the different sections of quantitative precipitation. Now what I want to show you is how to use the different models. So if you want to change models, you click on GFS, and you're primarily going to be using the GFS, right? Not the GFS version 3. Don't use that one. Use just the plain old GFS, and you can use the NAM. You can also use the HRR, the High Resolution Rapid Refresh. You can use the NAM 3 kilometer, which I prefer a little bit better. Don't necessarily worry about these others. These are other high resolution models. You don't necessarily need to play with them. You can play around with them if you want, but you don't necessarily need to. This RDPS, that's the Canadian's version of the NAM, and this GDPS is the Canadian version of the GFS. But for right now, really just focus on using the GFS, the NAM, and the 3 kilometer NAM. So just use those for right now. You can look at the European, but because this is a free website, and typically if you're in the United States, you have to pay for the European model, it's only going to show you for surface and precipitation, it's only going to show you mean sea level pressure, and you can only look at it over a continental United States view. So don't worry about looking at the European so much. Really just focus, like I said, on the GFS and the NAM. So if you want the high kilometer NAM, you can do that. Best way to use the high kilometer NAM would be to go in for some region in the United States, and let's say I wanted to, pick temperature for instance, and I wanted to know the temperature for Friday or even for tomorrow, for Thursday afternoon. What would be the high temperature? Well, I would just scroll until I got to Thursday afternoon. So this is Thursday at 2 p.m. and this is when the high of the day would actually occur, or right around this time. And so here, if I wanted to know the temperature for Boston, I would just look or move my cursor over and it would say 43, 44 degrees. So I know that would be my high. If I wanted to know my low, I would just go right till 8 o'clock in the morning. So this would, be the low part of the day. So 12Z usually happens, the lowest temperature of the day. And here I can just roll my mouse over the Boston area and I can see that my low is 34. So this is just another way that you can figure out temperature and winds. But I want you to play around with this website, get familiar with it, try some things. You really can't screw anything up, but I really think that you would like it. And so that is a little bit on how you use pivotalweather.com.